Damn, why did that have to happen? You're watching Allastrology, and we're in the month of February 2025. And we have lighting, thank you, and we have a full moon. There she is. That's your full moon, February 2025. There's I usually try to just pull out the bits, the important main bits. As you see, there's a lot here actually. So let's just start off with the date. We'll start off with the little things, the common sense kind of things. How about that? February 12th. And with this full moon, just like all the other full moons we talk about, it's an ending, it's a closure, something is being released. Think of the lunar cycles up in the sky, the moon. Think of how it has this 28-day cycle. What does that sound like? Feminine energy, the feminine cycle, moon time. It's all connected. And so when you have a full moon, that's when you're releasing. You follow? It's when you're releasing. Normally with full moons, you do have a timeline where there's days before the full moon, 3, 4. It just depends. For some of you with things in your chart, in the sign and the degree at the full moon, right, of the full moon itself, some of you will notice it and feel it before the day of the full moon. And that would be normal because if you've got objects, right? If you've got objects, the sun is always at the opposite end of a full moon. So what happens is the sun creates the opposition to where the full moon's going to be, like the days leading up to it. You understand? So if the full moon's going to be at, 24 degrees in, Leo, you see, the sun, which is always at the opposite of the moon, because that's what makes a full moon, the sun is moving 1 degree a day. So if you were to go back 5 days, the sun would have been at 19 degrees. You see, the sun would have been here. And then the next day it went to 20 and then to 21, 22. So if you had things, right, if you had objects at 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, right? Even whatever it was, the sun moves 1 degree a day. So whatever you have in the sign where the full moon's going to be, sometimes people are feeling it for sure. 24 degrees. And the sun rules this. So that takes us to that object right there. We got the full moon in Leo, and the sun is the ruler of this full moon, and the full moon being an ending of a cycle and a release. Okay. So the full moon having that impact at 24 degrees is big. It's really big. And we're going to get into the degree about it. Okay. So for those of you who've been following along, where we've kind of been learning, just different methods of astrology and kind of combining them. So the degree theory astrology, 24 degrees, you can chew on that until I get there, but you're free to put some comments in as to what some ideas and thoughts you have, if you understand where I'm about to go with it. But before we get there, we kind of got to go back to talk about, the event itself, which is a full moon, but also the fact that the sun is the ruler of the full moon. So the sun is how we radiate and shine. So it can literally represent your energy in your body, right? Like nothing grows without the sun. So the vitality and your battery getting charged, so in other words, if you were to look in your natal chart and you find where your sun is, you find what sign it's in, what house it's in, you also understand, other than the sign that it's in, and understanding like all those keywords, like, ooh, I'm a Capricorn sun. So these people are all about, achieving something, working towards something, usually material financial security, or being the boss in some way, but just really by piecemeal, working diligently and structure, rules and organizing, but for the long haul. It's a serious person. It's going to be serious at the long term, tangible stuff, the long term, tangible security. So for people who have like a Capricorn sun, being involved, work and career, these are things that they not only identify with as like, hey, this is who I am. This is where I radiate and shine. This is how I'm acknowledged and recognized. Like I could be the boss. I am the boss, like, working up that corporate ladder and working towards being the boss. But it's also how I feel energized, which is funny because it almost seems like a mix match thing. Because normally, if we work a lot, we work really hard at it, we can get tired and it drains us. But for Capricorn suns, it is that responsibility, the duty, it is the working towards a thing and being that serious, diligent worker that actually recharges its battery. So you heard me mention a couple of words so far. I said with the Capricorn sun, but some of the keywords will also match this Leo energy. And what are some of the keywords that match? Did you recognize them? I said boss, didn't I? Yeah. Capricorn, Saturn is its ruler, not to get all crazy with any more details, but boss energy, authority figure. Normally, we always talk about the sun as though it is the authority figure, right? So we also look at the sun as like dad energy, right? When we're young, you've got a mom and a dad in the house, even if they're not literally mom and dad, you could have a masculine authority figure around. Some people live with their grandparents, right? Some people only have one parent in the house, and sometimes that one parent has to play the dual roles. They have to be the mother and the father. And the father energy would be the sun. The mother energy would be the moon. You see? So this full moon, it kind of has a vibration of a beginning, even though it's clearly an ending and it's a completion of something and we're releasing something or someone. The full moon, moon being mom energy, feminine energy, homes. It's also the past and the history because it's the moon and it's all about the water energy. The public is usually a big deal. Okay. Public's usually a big deal when we talk about the moon. And we know this within society on full moons, right? It's always that same conversation. Is there a full moon? Is there a full moon? When something kind of crazy occurs or something that where people just seem a little, on the edge or something shocking, surprising, out of the ordinary occurs, something where we're just like, what the hell is in the water? What is going on? What is in the air? We're always like, there must be a full moon. It literally, we have higher tides in moon time. And so what happens is it's an increase in water. And when you have an increase in water, you can be more emotional. Leo is fire. Leo is typically fired up energy. It's usually very expressive, like super expressive, because the sun is the ruler. Remember, it's the sunlight. It's how you stand out. It's how you walk into a room and you just shine. There's something about you when you walk in, right? And maybe I don't know. I don't think I walk in a room and it's like, ooh, I don't think I have that. I think we know who those people are when it happens. There's something about them where it's like they're plugged in and they're like a light bulb that just entered the room, right? All eyes kind of turn. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be about them being super pleasant or beautiful looking. It could be just something super unique and different, but yet it radiates. It radiates this light even, right? It tracks. It's like a light, in the summer, you're out on the patio, whatever, you got the light on and all the bugs are attracted to that light. They're just drawn to it. It's not necessarily that it's a beautiful light. It's just a freaking light, right? And there's something there about it that it stands out. Now, Leo energy by nature is usually can be very dramatic, right? They can be the entertainers, the performers. Lots of performers and entertainers have strong Leo energy. Vocalists, actors, athletes. Like Leo energy is just big energy in a lot of ways, big and all about taking a risk. So it looks super courageous, bright and optimistic and fun energy. This is why we think entertainers, entertainment in general. This definitely is the entertainment degree because this is the degree of Pisces. And those are also people who are public figures. Yeah, Leo can be public figures. Pisces can also be public figures. Also the entertainment industry, music and sound specifically, not just acting, which Pisces can be, but also sound and sensitive, very sensitive energy. So we're having a very sensitive full moon. The heat seems to have all of a sudden, I was just absolutely freezing. All right, so we got the entertainer degree, public figures, politics. Right, that's another key word that you could put there for political figures with Leo and with Pisces, 24 degrees, the Pisces. So, authority figure, sun, masculine energy, and Pisces, that mixture together, these can be someone of authority who's part of a system that's within society. So what would that look like? Well, we think of institutions within society. We think of hospitals and prisons, monasteries, right? Churches and religion, right? They're like these institutions that are kind of at the foundation and the bedrock of society. And they are there to serve society in some way, shape, or form. So that there's definitely parts of the government, right? Depending upon where you live in the world, there's parts of the government that are set up to help with social programs and social services, right? And then we also know where there's certain places, especially here in the States, where certain parts of the government have kind of weaved in, working hand in hand with religious ideologies, backing and folding in, like part of that institutional support and energy. But the 24 is Pisces, okay? And the Leo, an authority figure. So if it's an ending and a closing of a cycle, ending and a closing of a person, possibly, a lot of crazy shit going on in the world, right? Like we're hearing all sorts of things. I'm recording this I'm in November right now as I'm recording this. And there's just, yeah, by the time you watch this in February, yeah, I mean, there's the Russia and Ukraine, there's Israel and Palestine. There's two big things happening where you've got, authoritarians really flexing their muscles and trying to, be like, hey, this is mine because I said so. And you think of the power, right? Because we got Pluto down there in Aquarius energy, which is at the opposite of this. But Pluto's at 2 degrees. But that still is kind of part of the story, kind of part of the backstory. Pluto enables and increases the power. It increases the individual power, while at the same time increasing the group power. NATO for sure. For sure. So, yeah, I'm sure I've talked about it in other videos leading up to this. And even in this chart, we can kind of see there's a lot of strength and organizing and communications and shared values. Shared values. You see Juno at 28 in Scorpio. Our shared values. Juno is partnerships. Our partnerships based on our bonds. And what's our bonds? Our similar values. Like we come to the table and we're having a conversation. And this kind of represents old money and history, like, oil, gold. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the nature, the planet's jewels, diamonds. We think of all this when we look at, coal. We think of all this when we look at Scorpio. It goes way back. And it goes back to, well, sugar, right? And plantations and, what can we sell and make money? And this is our value, cotton, right? So So there's just when I back this up, there's a lot. I've got a big T square. We've got possibly a great cross for some of you. There's a lot of support. You see some of these blue trines in this chart as well. Because it's Aquarius, social causes, but it's science and technology and streaming, right? This is big when we talk about, you know, AI and different social media platforms, especially if they have live streams or whatever kind of streaming that's available. Inventions. This is all Aquarius energy. Authority figure. That's the sun at 24 degrees. 24, of course, right? These are people, again, in charge, people who are in charge of institutional energy in some way, right? Institutional energy in Aquarius, this is global systems, Aquarius energy, right? Global banking, right? Yeah, global banking. Give me some more examples. There's this energy here, there's power here, okay? Power within all the Aquarius energy because Pluto is there, but it's also there to change things, to change the dynamics of the Aquarius energy, the global systems. So when I say supply chains and the NASA and the in the International Space Station, because it's a community thing. It's not just about one little small place in the US, right? It's a global thing. So the big boss energy and the stellium, the opposition, the strong stellium. We've got the sun, we've got the two Venuses, Sappho energy at 24 as well. So this kind of speaks to feminine energy because the Sapphos are also right at 24 degrees in an exact opposition to the moon, to the full moon. Push pull energy, power play, power struggle, like we're sitting at the table when we're arm wrestling type of thing, right? Venus, the two Sapphos, and the sun together. And then Ceres, which is the supply chain in Aquarius, it's food, it's how do we distribute the food, however that may be, planes, trains, automobiles, right? By boat. Like this is all Aquarius stuff, transportation, mass transportation. And then look who's here. Local transportation. Mercury is even here. Yeah. This is a huge stellium. Powerful stellium. Really powerful. So we'll get back to that in a second. Okay. Going back to the release energy now, what are we releasing? Who are we releasing? Well, it could be someone who's in charge. And quite frankly, for the United States, we know that we were releasing somebody in charge. We know that in January, there was a change, right? We had an election in November and a new person, a new administration comes in. That new administration should have already come in January. So, but yeah, whenever I think Pisces and someone like in charge on a large scale like that, yeah, the 24 degrees makes me think of president material. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. Authoritarian material, like what, yeah. Anyway, so the qualities of the Leo energy and the completion, like the full moon, like weaving that all together, we're going to get there. But I first want to step back for a second to show you the big T square that this full moon, this big release is facing. Now, when I say a T square, the release will not just easily occur. Okay. So it's receiving a big, strong T square from Uranus at 23. You see that? Uranus is sitting there right at 23 degrees. So with that at 23, this can definitely be the shocking and the surprising energy. But remember, Uranus rules that Aquarian energy that Pluto was in that we talked about. Uranus is the planet that rules Aquarius. You see? So Uranus being in Taurus is about values. All right. What are my values? And we always got to be super cautious anytime Venus and Uranus energy and Taurus is involved because it's my desires. It says it's my way or the highway when Uranus is there. You follow? It's my desires, my values, And the power of the desire energy can be over the top, especially when it's at the authoritarian degree. Okay. This Uranus is not alone. Uranus is at the Uranus degree, but it right there at 24 degrees, there's that number 24, right? This is Taurus, fixed energy. We know the full moon is at 24. In Leo, fixed energy, which is why this is a strong square. Stress and tension are squares. We have the moon in Sirius midpoint. The moon in Sirius. This definitely is about home. It's how I feel nurtured. It can be food. It can be women. It's at 24 here. So days leading up to the full moon, it would have been, we would have already understood what was going on, feminine energy. This can be, whether it's people starving, people purposely being starved, people purposely aid being blocked to individuals. Also, with this stellium, you see the deep purple line we have. L goes right there at 26. And then we have something here at 27. I've talked about it a little bit before. This symbol right here. You see that? It looks kind of like Juno. The symbol's name is Hera. Hera. This is Hera. It is very similar to Juno energy. Hera is very much, very focused, not just about being in a relationship. She is kind of almost hyper focused on equality and fairness within relationships. This is big for her. Like this is her whole point. Uranus is part of this, but the Uranus part can be the transportation, can be the distribution, can be the mass transportation of goods, can be, because food would be food for the public. The moon and Sirius are here together, right? And when they are all together and the equality and the fairness and Hera being here, ooh, right? That could turn into something. But it's not easy. It is stressful. If you look at the red, follow the red with your eye, right? You go back to here, and there's the same energy as far as a stellium starting at 24 degrees all the way to 26 here, because Mercury's at 26. Transportation again comes up, right? Mercury. So somebody who's already on the ground in mass transportation, Mercury's about the local transportation. Yeah, at 26. So Mercury is squaring, getting a big square from all this stuff. But Mercury and Elgo are in an exact square. And Elgo is normally something, it's usually associated with events that we are like, damn, why did that have to happen? Flight, because Uranus is technology and airplanes. It's also boats, right? But it's also vehicles because it's Mercury. But it's Mercury transportation, helicopters. It's Mercury and Aquarius, which is airplanes. Transportation's big. Science is big here. Technology is big here. Okay. In your chart, you're looking for this right here. You're looking for 24 degrees in Leo. You're looking to find out, do you have anything near it? Remember what I said about the days before the full moon, the days leading up to it might be a big deal if you have objects down there in Aquarius, because the sun would have been at that opposition and it would have been dinging one degree a day, 1 degree a day. So when it comes to the release, think of all the different Leo keywords, releasing how I shine, how I radiate, how I create, how I express, how I uniquely stand out as an individual. Strong creative energy. At the same time, it's how I have fun and laughter, how I feel like a kid again. Maybe for some of you, you actually are involved in some artwork. Maybe somebody out there is doing something, writing, composing something, and that sounds really big, like, oh my God. But 24 degrees is sound. So it's, for some of us, this can be technology. Oh my God, my sound is gone. I lost the sound. My speakers don't work, or whatever, right? This can be your actual devices you know, and you standing out from the crowd, you standing out from the group and a completion. For some of you, this can be children. Maybe, maybe this has to do with IVF. We think about how we're at the point where we're picking and choosing the gender of the child, right? The 24 degrees is also a creative energy. It's also a creative degree with the Leo energy. And when we think of the moon and mom, and when we think of the sun here and that ability to create, which comes when you mix the moon and the sun together, right? That's our new moon energy. We got to wonder, is this tied up? Is this stuff that's tied up in the courts, depending upon where you live in the world, where there's battles going on? Are you able to, is IVF illegal where you live, right? This can be part of this too. Because the Leo energy and the T square with values, because your values have a lot to do with where you align in your beliefs, spiritual, your religious beliefs, how you vote, right? That all is that connection. And all of these individuals, the sun, Uranus, they all think they're the boss. They all believe that it's my way or the highway. So it looks like a battle when you look at the big T square and the angles. Now I want to show you the trine energy real quick. We got a south node in Virgo, 27 degrees. We got Hera at 27 degrees equality, right? Remember we talked about Hera? And we have Pallas Athena in Capricorn at 28. So there's a very strong grand earth trine that's supported here. And it's all about plotting and planning and my tasks, my health, my values, and what I'm building for my future, because Pallas Athena is part of this. But a release and a let go is part of this. So unfortunately, because of this release and this let go, and we think of daily routines and we think of our health care, we think of, for the individuals who are trying to, whether they work in a service industry, there's lots of ways that looks here in the United States, because that's, yeah, a lot of our jobs here. But there's a big grand earth trine with this. So what that means is there is an ease with that let go, with that release. It creates like that part easily happens. So when it comes to the moon representing women energy and the public and family, the moon, and that 24 degrees, well, and the fact that Hera is here in a very strong square with that big stellium and children, because that's Leo energy, my ability to create, to procreate, right? To be a mom and to have a baby, or to choose not to, right? Even though, when a woman is born, she doesn't get to choose that. Her body is automatically made to have a baby. Even though there are some women, they may have the equipment, but they can't carry a child. Like they just, yeah, their body, yeah. So with all this, we're just being mindful of what a full moon is. It's a release and it's an ending and it's a closure. And even though emotions can run high, we want to try to think of the group energy and try to be detached, which is difficult, especially if it's something that is really, really personal. So for the degrees of this full moon, there's going to be a big orb. There's a big orb for this full moon because of the big stellium. And so we're going to take it from 22 all the way to 28 degrees technically, because of the big stellium we've got in Taurus and in Aquarius, because Uranus is at both sides in the T-square. Uranus is a factor. And I think that can make for, it can be uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable. Okay. So this is one of those full moons where, maybe there's an ending and a closure that you've been working towards. Like I gave in the beginning an example of, I've been creating. I've been working on this project. I've been painting, right? Whatever it was, if you were working towards something and you were looking towards a completion and a finishing of it, and then selling it possibly, right? This would be wonderful for that because it's creative energy. At the same time, there can be releases and let goes that we're like, holy shit, where it kind of catches us off guard because of the Aquarius energy at both angles. All right. So pay attention to those degrees. Again, the orb is going to be from 22 to 28 degrees in the fixed signs. I know I didn't mention Scorpio, but here in the chart, we have Juno at 28 degrees. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but Juno's part of this. All right. And Juno does angle it. If you have something at that 28, you're definitely feeling the stress from a grand cross, a fixed grand cross in the chart. All right. So just remember the buildup to the full moon energy is to just be prepared in the sense that you can't control everything. And sometimes the state of surrender and peace, 24 degrees, and sound and music can be helpful. But at the same time, we are thinking about the big picture, about the future, and about humanity. And we've got Taffy who's at the door. So let me end this here. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.